this time, this hour. I just have a quick announcement to make. So hopefully some stragglers will come through. It is an odd hour in the US, but I think it's daytime, just after lunchtime elsewhere. So anyway, this announcement just came from me, and I wanted to just share it with you guys because I think it's important for me to share some news with you. Because there's a lot going on and around the YouTube sphere, and it's important for me just to stay in touch with the supporters here to keep you guys abreast about what is going on and what to watch out for. So this is more of a warning, and so I'm actually putting this out there because from the get-go, I'm going to just say this. Welcome, come in. If you're just joining, just come in and have a seat. I'm just going to make a quick announcement. So please just bear with me a minute. I'm just going to see if anyone else comes in, and then I'll just say what I need to say and get off. But so I just want you hopefully just have a quick prayer, as I always ask everybody to do coming into my lives, is just to say a quick prayer that you'll hear and listen with open ears and with a heart that wants to hear the truth and a heart that wants to listen to God. That's the most important thing, because I'm just here as a representative of God at the end of the day, and God's ambassador. And I'm a woman, I'm on this earth, but at the same time, that's what this is about. So please do that, and then join us on this live, because it's going to be just a quick announcement that I need to just make for mostly my supporters, but also King and our supporters on this channel. So there is just a quick, I know you're waiting for the news, and trust me, I have my phone on 24 hours a day at this moment, because I do expect to get that call that King is home. So just bear with me as this time frame just comes. It's just quite nerve-wracking for me. I'm not sleeping a lot at the moment, as you can imagine, and I'm just waiting. So I'm just wanting you guys just to bear with that time, because as soon as I hear anything, I'm going to let you guys know. You guys are going to be the first ones to know, so just keep an eye out, keep an ear out for that, because if I get a chance and if I can get him online, I'll get him online to say a quick hello, but I can't guarantee he's going to be in the mood for all of that. Anyway, let me just quickly make this announcement that I wanted to make and then head out of here. I think I posted the scripture. I think I've put down the wrong one, actually. It's Psalm 108, verse 12. Help us against the enemy. Human help is useless. With God on our side, we will win. He will defeat our enemies. Now, I want you guys just to think about what that means, because in all of this mess with King, I want you to think about why I'm saying that. I'm going to repeat it again. It's Psalm 108, verse 12. Help us against the enemy. Human help is worthless. With God on our side, we will win. He will defeat our enemies. Now, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but, some people are coming in, some people are going out. As I just said before, I've got my phone on all day at the moment, all day, all night, because I am waiting for the call that King is home, or on his way home, I should say, because I'm not at the condo at the moment. So just bear with us, because as soon as I hear anything, you guys on this channel will be the first to know, because I think you've been patient enough and there's no way I can keep you waiting. But just bear with me, because I'm just praying day and night just that I'm going to get that call any minute. And in saying that, you've got to be careful about what's out there at the moment. From the get-go of this, we have had interferers. This is why I'm making this announcement. Psalm 108, verse 12. This is why I'm making this announcement. Now, I can't even talk today. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm saying. Let me just go back. I am making this announcement because, I want people to be aware that there's been interference from the beginning of this. We have had people coming into this that have no idea what's going on, that just are really impressed by the RKelly brand name. They want to be involved. They want to put their big noses into our business, and it has caused havoc. We are here still. I have been fighting this too long because of interference. And it has been the interference of completely deranged and messy, chaotic, narcissistic and messy people, and nobody that has any sense at all. And when I say interference, I mean really like trying any way they can to get to king, any way they can, any means they can, any title they can, any kind of connection they can make. They will try anything. It is an obsession with these people. It is an obsession. Day and night, they think about how they can get into King's life. Day and night, they think about him. Night and day, they wake up, and it's too much. It's too much. Like, the only person who should be thinking about RKelly or King all day, all night is me. It's just too much to see all these people obsessed with him like this. It's just too much, because what is happening is they're not sleeping. They're waking up with all kinds of shoddy ideas that don't work and haven't worked, and nothing has worked but God. And this is why I read this scripture from the get-go. Psalm 108, verse 12. Human help is useless. That's what God says. Human help is worthless. It's worthless. It's worthless. We have tried, all the humans we have tried to help us have failed, because they're humans, and they're fallible, and they're weak, and they don't know anything. We as human beings have to accept our weakness compared to God. We are nothing. The only help that has come for us is God. Let me tell you that the only help that has come for us is God. And God showed me which way to go, because I'm a godly woman, because I listen to God. Not because I'm out here with everybody else in all of the mess that they're creating, trying to pretend that they're doing something for King when they're just creating mess. They're just creating mess. I want people just to stop it. I know you can't control your urges. You're like wild horses. You're wild and you're out there. You have no leadership, and you're just doing whatever you think, will, get attention for yourself on YouTube. And I'm sick of it, to be honest with you. I've said it time and time again. The only person who should be thinking about King day and night is myself. That's it. I don't know why all of these men are thinking about my partner all day and all night, and how to get into his life. It's very sickening. It's very, very, very scary, actually. And also some women as well. I'm at this point where I'm just like, well, I understand he is RKelly. He's the king of R&B. I understand all of that. I understand that people want to show support. Show support. Don't become obsessive. Don't become a stalker. I don't want to see people day and night posting ideas that don't work, because you're shoddy and you have no idea what God has planned for King in my life. You have no idea what God's plans are. Some of you are nobody. Some of you have just jumped in like 2 years or 3 years ago from the streets of somewhere. Some of you are claiming to be connected to King in some form, and it's not true. You're lying to people, and you've managed to lie to enough people to get enough attention, enough power behind you, enough names behind you. But I'm just telling you now, nothing gets past me. Nothing gets past me. The documentary that King wanted to release, that you probably somebody put up, that he made long before, like, he was arrested, I shut that down. I shut that down. You can go and find it. It wasn't released. Why wasn't it released? Because of me. I shut down a lot of things. I shut down anything I don't like, anything that seems shoddy, anything that's not going to help his brand or his freedom. And anybody who thinks, I don't care how much money or how many connections you have, you don't have the connections of God. If you don't have God in your life, I don't trust you. If you're not praying to God every day, and you're not a sincere follower of God, of Jesus, of the Bible, I don't trust you. I don't trust any of your intentions. I don't trust anything you have to say, and I don't trust you. I don't care who you're connected to. The only person who at this point, the only connections that worked are the people that have the power to release him. All your documentaries, all these things that you've put out on YouTube are worthless. Psalm 108, listen. Everything you guys have done out there, I'm not talking about you, the supporters here that have been just so lovely and beautiful. I'm talking about the people that have YouTube channels that think they're doing something, but they're just making a lot of noise and they're just causing a lot of confusion and they're causing a lot of distractions and they're causing actually for me to actually get quite agitated because when you interfere, you're actually blocking him from coming home. What you're doing is actually saying to me that you don't care about this man, because if you care, you'd be listening to this channel and you would have heard me say he's already coming home. So what are these people doing? I'm sure they've seen this channel. They come because I've seen some of these people repeat what I've already said and they announce it as their news. And I'm just telling you, people, you have to be aware that there are some real fakes and frauds out there that want your attention. They just want your attention. They just want your attention. But the problem with all of that is eventually somebody might attach their name to King's, and then people start attaching whatever they do to King. And that's how he ends up with all these fake associates on his charges, because people want to attach their name to him like some kind of sick obsession. There are a lot of sickos out there, a lot of obsessive men and women on YouTube who cannot get my partner's name out of their mouth. They cannot stop thinking about him. And day and night, they wake up in their sleep and they go, oh, I've just got to post about RKelly. I've got to post something about RKelly. I've got to make sure my followers think that I'm doing something productive because I've claimed that I'm connected to him. I want you guys to wake up. If they're not godly people, if they're not following God and they're not following Jesus, and you don't see it in their lives as the fruit of their lives, do not listen to them. They have some kind of agenda which normally involves money, normally involves some kind of fame. And none of these people, you'll never see them again. I promise you, as God is my witness, you will not see these people that you're seeing on YouTube anywhere in our home, anywhere near us, none of them. So I don't care who they claim to be, who they claim to the world to be. I don't care who they've managed to convince that they're somebody. They're not coming into our home and into our lives. I am the lady, I am the queen in his life. Nothing gets past me. Nothing he does gets, even Jennifer Bonjean, she is there on my good graces. At any time I say to King, get rid of her, he will dump her like that. He doesn't even have to think twice about listening to me. She is just there for me as a smoke screen at this point. So just accept what I'm saying, because I'm not out here power playing my position in his life. I'm not. Every decision he's made, we've made together. I don't just call myself his partner. I don't put it all out there, everything I'm doing, every decision we make together, because that's private and that's personal and that's between two people that are in a relationship. But from every attorney he has dumped has something to do with me. So I don't care who you are online that you think you've got some sway in his life. Maybe you've got some connections. Maybe you've got some money. I'm just telling you, if you don't know about me, you don't know anything. And you shouldn't be making any kind of documentaries. You shouldn't be making any kind of YouTube videos if you don't know about me and if you can't accept me as his partner. Because what you're going to do is put out shoddy research, fake news, fake information that has nothing to do with his real story, real cases, and how he's really coming home. And this is what I keep repeating to people, but people don't listen. I don't want to keep repeating myself. I sound like a broken record at this point, but it's frustrating. It's frustrating for me because I just want people to leave him alone for right now. Oh, if support him, show your love, send him cards. I don't know how long he's going to be there, but send him mail if you need to. You know, put out some good news, some great like music of his or something positive that he's done, or, you know, some way he's inspired you, the truth. Put out the truth of how you're how he's inspired you from a distance. I don't want all of this rubbish. Oh, he's my relative. Oh, he's my friend. Oh, he mentored me. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's fake. It's fake. It's fraudulent. It's fake. It's lies. It's lies. It's lies. It's lies. I don't care what kind of photo you bring up. I'm a qualified photographer. I can tell you these photos are fake and doctored. These things are all out there. These people are not connected to him. There might be some fan that took photos with him. Anybody can take it. Do you know how many photos I have in his collection of people that were with King, fans that took photos with him? How many people I have? Just go online. You will find hordes of photos with R. Kelly. Do not accept people just because they put out a photo with him that they have some kind of special connection with him. Do not accept it. I'm telling you, as his partner, listen to me. If you don't want to be misled, if you don't want to waste your time and energy, your good heart and soul, that you really, because I know some of you really care about him. You really want to see him home. You really want the best for him. I see you commenting under these people's chats and their videos and their posts. I see it. I see how desperately you want him home. You're praying for him. You're doing all the right things. But unfortunately, these people are misleading you. And the reason why I got on here is to warn you all to stop listening to these people. I've already given you the news that you need to know. Please just wait. Please just wait. Please just listen out. I know I put out like what seems to be like false warnings that he's coming home, but it's because of what I was led to believe. But at this point, it's just, there's no way back. There's just, it's done. It's done. And you just have to accept that this is how God has done it. He hasn't done it through man. He's done it through God, through himself. So I don't want you guys looking around at who can save King. Jennifer Bonjean talking about going higher and to the Supreme Court of, all of that is rubbish. Just don't listen to it, don't follow it, and don't support it because it's rubbish. If she goes anywhere with what she's got, it's a bunch of lies and she cannot stop, just like everybody else. I've just had to let all of that go because I cannot stop some of these people, and I need to let go because that is what God has asked me to do, is to let go and just give it up to him and to trust that he's going to bring him home now so we can stop all of this. The second he hits the ground, these people will take off. You will see YouTube channels disappear. You'll see videos disappear. You'll see people that, you thought were connected to him, not even there. Because they know they have no connection to him. They're just fooling you because they want to win some war that they're on, some kind of narcissistic rampage of validation that they need to prove they're somebody to R. Kelly. And I can tell you none of these people are anything to him. I don't care if he's communicating with people. I've already said to you, explained to some of you guys that were listening to previous lives. Why? What? So I'm just reading your comments here. Would you like to know bold? What's this? Some people are writing comments. I haven't had a chance to have a look. The R. Kelly podcast. How was your day, love? Good, thank you. Sorry, I was a bit kind of on a bit of a rampage. It was pretty good, yours. I don't understand what that means, sorry. What's this about? Hi, Sean Roberts. I think you need to listen to my last live if you don't understand what this is about. My lives tend to be like this. If you don't listen to the last one, because I'm not just out here putting out lives just to get your attention, just to get you out of bed, just to get you like listening in. I'm not like that. I have nothing to gain from all of this. This channel is not monetized. There's no Cash Apps. There's no PayPal. There's nothing. You will not find a single ounce of join me or any of this. I'm not here for that. This is an advocating channel. I am his partner, Lady Juliet. You can read it in the bio. You can read our links to find out why you don't know about me if you don't know about me. So I'm not here for any of that. So if I'm online, if I'm doing a live, it's for a purpose, and my lives tend to follow from the last live. So I don't tend to just be on here for no reason. So I've come on here because I keep spotting certain people, individuals, pumping out these fake reports and fake ideas, like trying to get you distracted over there to all of these people helping them. I want you to see nobody who isn't with God, nobody who is not godly, who's not a Christian, who's not following Jesus can help my partner. And there's been some fake ones of those too, by the way. I'm not putting out there that there's anybody who's like, that everybody's Christian and everybody's godly just because they claim to be. I look at people's lives. I look at the fruit of their lives. I look at how they live their lives, how they treat people. I look at a lot of things to actually say, well, this person really is a Christian. To me, it doesn't mean anything just for you to talk about God online, because I've seen somebody talk about God 1 minute and the next minute threaten somebody. Or I've seen somebody talk about God 1 minute and then the next minute they're gossiping about their neighbor, spreading slander. That's not godly. That's not what I mean by godly. Anybody can believe in God, but for you to actually have a relationship with God where you have a fear of God and you have accountability with God. So when Psalm 108 verse 12 says that human help is worthless, and it says that with God on our side, we will win. He will defeat our enemies. Listen to that. That's from God. That's from the Bible. And I'm just putting it out there for you guys to listen to that. That is where our help comes from. King knows it. King knows what's going on. He's on par with me. Even if he's calling people, even if he's in touch with people, he's got to stay sane somehow. He's been stuck in that place with nobody of his level, like nobody in the music industry supporting him. And I've had to accept that that's part of what he's dealing with. I'm not somebody who's been in the music industry, so I don't know how I would have coped to go from that position to where you're in a hellhole with criminals and people that you would never mix with in normal life. He is an actual king. He is a king of R&B, but he has lived his life for 30 plus years in a beautiful existence where he in luxury and in comfort. And now he's in a hellhole because of stupid, criminal, evil, demonic people and insane people and the lunatics of society. That's why he's there. Don't get it twisted that any of these charges were right and righteous. None of them were. It's corruption on corruption, lies on lies. I've explained it throughout my videos. There's 400 videos you can go and look at. Jesus was a Hebrew from the tribe of Judah, not a Christian. Some confused Christian was like a slur used against the apostles. Definition of essence. This is not a biblical scholarly like live right now. We can have that kind of conversation in another time about the history of Jesus and who when that time comes. Like I said, I'm very purposeful when I come online. I'm not here just to have a conversation about just anything. But when I say I'm a Christian, do you know what Christ means? That's what you need to research more than anything, more than just his origins. Understand what Christ means. That's what it means to be a Christian. So it's people have all kinds of conflict about Jesus' identity. And I've gone through that path. I have lived as a Christian for a long time, all my life pretty much, I think. I don't know one time where I could say that I wasn't a Christian. From the time I was a little girl, 12 years old, I remember I just had, not even 12, when I was in primary school. And I know I'm getting off topic, but just to explain to you definition of essence, I understand what you're saying. It's a very important topic to have, very important conversation to have. It's not that I don't want to have these conversations, but maybe at another time, a later stage when King is home and I can have those conversations with you guys, because I think it's important. I think that for me, faith is something like this. I get to share what I've been through, and you guys can learn from where I'm at and what has got me through everything I've been through. Because to go through this hell, this situation with King, you can only get through something like this with God. I promise you, there's nobody I know that could have survived this the way King and I have, because we have God. We have a relationship with God. We're Christians, and we acknowledge God and we fear God in what we do. We know God is always present and God is always working. So I'm just putting it out there for you guys, whatever philosophy you have, whatever faith you have, anointed one. Thank you, definition of essence. Exactly. So whatever affiliation, denomination you follow, I want you to understand that, because I have, I come from a whole range of different, experiences in life. I've mixed with all kinds of faiths and beliefs and religions. I've traveled a lot. So I've been blessed to meet, I've stayed with Muslims, I've stayed with Jewish people, I've stayed with Christians, all of these things have happened to me. So I understand philosophies, I understand different beliefs, I understand things a lot deeper than a lot of people. And I've studied the Bible for over 8 years. So I think that there is an understanding I have. Hi, are you visiting RKelly here in North Carolina? Was here last weekend. Here we go. Joanne Reynolds, I don't even know if that's your real identity, because I get a lot of trolls on here, to be honest, that just come on here to cause havoc. And this is an example of that, because it's clearly not a question that's sincere. This person is clearly trying to trigger me into some kind of reaction. And I'm going to pray for you, Joanne, because you clearly don't have God. You would understand that Joyce Savage is a complete fraud. And you would accept that. She's a complete fraud. She's the reason why he's in prison, her and RKelly. And I don't want to repeat that again. You can read it in the bio. If you are who you say you are, not some troll that just wants to come here to cause corruption, some demonic entity, some demon-filled person. Because I think you need to pray for your soul if what you're doing, you think that this is a righteous thing to do to somebody. Because I don't think you understand what you're doing. I think you're corrupted by some kind of evil. And I think that you need to be prayed for. And I think you need to pray for your own soul. Because Joyce Savage is nothing but an imposter, a fraud, and the worst thing that could have ever happened to King's life. The worst. Her and RKelly, the worst. So you can take that and go and you can contact Joyce Savage yourself. I just ran across your page, honey. I'm just speaking the truth, and I have God. Darling, if you have God, you would not have posted that. Hi, are you visiting RKelly in North Korea? Listen, read back what you've said. Read back what you've said. Don't come on here with your ego. Don't come on here with your ego. If you have God, you know how to have humility. You know how to be loving. You know how to be compassionate. If you've just come across my page, no, don't start typing. I'm just listen to what I'm saying to you. Listen to what I'm saying. If you've just come on my page, you're going to listen and you're not going to post things that you don't understand about. Because you can go onto my bio and you can read what I've posted there, which says clearly Joyce Savage is an imposter. Follow the links. Don't come on here and type things and then claim that you have God, because you're presenting as somebody who has something else going on. I'm not somebody who you can fool like that or trigger like that. I'm sorry. You need to get yourself together. I don't know what's wrong with some of you people. I'm not going to block you. I want you just to listen. Joanne Reynolds, you don't know anything. You don't know anything. You do not know anything. I don't know where you've heard it from, what you're actually posting. I don't know where you've heard it from. He has nothing to do with Joyce Savage. I don't know who you're hearing it from. It's just false. It's fake news. This is the problem with you guys listening to so many different channels. If you don't get the right information and then you come on here and you type rubbish that has nothing to do with what I'm talking about. Read the bio. I don't have time to explain it to everybody. And like, we're not on the same level. I'm his partner. Who are you? You don't know anything about us. And this is the problem. If you say you've got God, then go back and read your Bible where it talks about humility, where it talks about love, where it talks about having empathy, where it talks about having wisdom. None of what you're presenting on here, I'm sorry, Joanne, wherever you're coming from, is presenting as a Christian person who knows God. And I think you need to go back to where your basics are and find out who God is, because you're not presenting as somebody godly. You're presenting as somebody who follows something else, something dark. Because nobody who follows God would ever mention Joyce Savage's name on my live. No one. Do you know what evil is? Do you know what evil is? Do you know what somebody who follows evil is? Do you know what an evil family is? Do you know what people that present with demonic spirits are? Do you know what poison is? Do you know any of these things, you people that keep saying Joyce Savage's name, for God's sake? I don't have anything personally against the girl, the woman. She's now a woman. But she's an intern. She was an intern for King, and that's all she is. That's all she ever was. I don't have anything personally against her except for the fact that she lied behind his back, claiming that they were together when there was nothing going on, claiming that to her parents, setting off this chain of events where they ran with surviving RKelly. They were able to smear his name. They were able to go to TMZ and claim that he was holding her hostage. They were able to blackmail and extort him. All of these things happened because she existed. Because she existed and she wouldn't go home. We sent them home twice. We sent these women home. We tried to get rid of these women 2 times. These women are like leeches. They're like poison. They've got demonic energies all around them in their lives. Do not come onto my live with all of that rubbish. Take that away. Step away from my channel with all of that rubbish. It's demonic and it's evil. Everything we've been through is because of those 2 women. I don't want to hear about it. Take it away, Joanne. Go away with all of that. You need to get yourself correct. Your mind and your spirit is absolutely filled with evil. Don't bring that on here. Don't bring evil onto my life again. It's just demonic. And I'm so sick of it, because people like you exist and you pretend to be godly. You gaslight people like me who've been through hell for 5 years. So don't honey me and all of this stuff, because you're gaslighting me as his partner and you're trying to trigger me into something. And it's not going to work, because I'm not triggered, but I'm just annoyed. Like, I'm just using you as an example. And I hope you don't take this personally, because if you're a godly person, you'd actually be humbled by this. You'd actually go away and say, I need to repent. And you'd actually think, oh, well, I need to do some more research, because I clearly don't know anything. I need to respect my boundaries in life and know that I don't know everybody. And I don't know this woman. And I don't know RKelly. I just think I do, because I heard something on some channel and now I'm here typing something to trigger somebody I don't know. All of that is evil. So I don't know whether you're a real person, troll, or whoever you are, but please just go take that spirit somewhere else and that energy somewhere else. As I was saying, anyway, I'm going to go back to Psalm 108, verse 12. And anybody else who feels a certain way like that, then you can also take yourself where you can find Joyce Savage, which is somewhere in a hole somewhere, in a house somewhere by herself. Has nothing to do with my king, has nothing to do with our lives, except for his attorneys have made false claims on documents to federal judges. And I've already said on my lives how all of that has unraveled. And Jennifer Bonjean knows what's going on. She knows all the deal. I'm not here to, talk about anybody. Okay, and please don't patronize me by calling me honey. That's the worst thing you could do to somebody when you've stepped into my chat. Listen to yourselves. Do you see how narcissistic you are? You've stepped into a chat, you know nothing about this channel. You said you just passed by, but you type something that you have no idea about anything, but you're just typing. So you see how arrogant and egotistical and ego-centered that is, and how ungodly that is. If you can't, then what are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah, you've stepped into somebody's chat. And this is the thing, you people that do this, you need God. You keep claiming you have God, but you're an example of why you don't have God. This isn't godly behavior. I don't care who you think you are. This is not God. God does not represent chaos, drama, and psychosis. He does not represent narcissism. He does not represent ego and ego-centered beliefs. This is not godly. I don't care who you think you are. God is not with you. What you're following is an evil spirit, Joanne. You're following an evil spirit and claiming it's God. And this is how people get misled, because they think that they can just be like you and still claim to be godly and still claim to be a Christian. And that's just not how it works. And I'm very passionate, because I've been 5 years on the ground with this. I'm bringing King home. We're going to have our life. I don't care what you guys think you were saying, thinking, doing, because in your narcissism, you think that you know what's going on. And that's what narcissism is. It's an evil spirit sometimes. In the spiritual realm, that's what it is. In the mental health realm, it's a mental disorder, a personality disorder. And some of you people have this disorder. And unfortunately, it cannot be corrected. Even psychologists say that. So I'm not here to deal with any of you. You need God. You who have this disorder, you need God. I'm not here to deal with that. I'm here to talk about bringing King home, about these people that are claiming to help him. Anyone else who jumps in with anything else is just trying to trigger and distract. And it's just very obvious what you're trying to do. I have to ignore you. And at this stage, if you keep typing, good. That's all you needed to say. You know what? If you had typed just that, that's all you had to say. Everything else you've written has nothing to do with God. The last line that you wrote, that's what God does. But I still don't acknowledge that you even know who God is, because Joanne, the way you presented, the way you've come on here, you need to go and step off and actually pray about it, because I would not step onto somebody's life, in anybody's life. In all my life of living, I've never interfered in anybody's life. I've never presumed anything about people I don't know. And this is why I'm here. This is why I can present my case to the federal court judges that were looking at his appeal and get them to overturn it and bring him home. And I could do it, despite his attorneys, despite what they were doing, despite their ego-centered psychosis, their sociopathy, and their narcissism. And I can only do that because I'm a godly woman. So this is what the power that God gives you. If you have God in your life, that's the power God gives you to move mountains into seas. And so I talk as somebody who's been able to do that, not on my back, and when it's done, I'll be able to thank these two people, two officials personally. But at this point right now, I can't even mention names, but I will just say, wait for that notice. It's going to happen any minute, any second. And that's all you need to know. The rest of it, we can explain together, King and I. I'm just not going to get into it. If you guys have not read, if you've not listened to the other lives, if you've not watched the videos on this channel, there's no point in me getting into 5 years of history with you in 1 hour or 10 minutes on this live. It's just not going to work. And I'm going to get exacerbated, which I was just doing, because I'm trying to explain something to somebody who's just stepped in, typed really quickly because they're trying to trigger. And you guys can't do that to people. If you're godly, don't do that. Don't run around the internet doing that to anybody, not just me. Like, step back and just put yourself in other people's shoes. If you're a godly person, the first thing that God commands you to do is to love other people as you love yourself. Would you like that done to you? Would you like people stepping into your life that know nothing about it and then just spitting out whatever they think just to trigger you, not knowing that you've been through 5 years of hell, not caring, not even thinking about how you're feeling on the other end of it? Godly and Christian people don't do that. They have compassion for people, they have empathy, and they walk in righteousness and kindness. And when they spot someone like me who's actually pulled, online for a good intention to warn people about the chaos and drama and lies like this, Joyce and Savage visiting him, all of these are lies that people are putting out because they want you. They're filled with, there's so many evil spirits online. I don't want to put out names, and I'm not going to go down that line, but there's a lot of people that are filled with demons of all kinds that I don't know anything about. But all I know is I feel a very dark energy when I come across these people. And anybody who talks like this, I feel a very dark energy. I feel very dark energy. Whenever you talk about Joyce and Savage or RKelly, all I get is dark, demonic energy, because that is what they presented in his life. So when anybody mentions them on my channel, I can't help but associate you with that. If you're promoting this, if you're supporting this, if you're supporting him being with it, there's something dark in you. I would not even acknowledge it as anything else. See what you keep doing, Joanne. You don't have any self-awareness. And this is the thing. Like, I could just block you, but I'm going to have this conversation because I want some people that come through here to learn from you, because you're an example of what not to be as a Christian, as a person who claims to know God. Don't push it back on me, because what you're doing is gaslighting and projecting onto me. You see how you keep typing? There's no way for me to communicate to you because you're so full of your own ego. You're so full of your own self-importance. You're so full of your own narcissism that you cannot hear me. So the next thing I can do, the only thing I can do is block you. So Corley's attorney, Jennifer Bonjean, and I've been in contact with for how long? Corley's attorney? Excuse me. So this is what I'm saying to you guys. Some of you are so off top. You don't have any sense of reality of who you are. You are a fan, Joanne. You're somebody who lives in some dimension of reality where you get to look into the RKelly world from a little telescope of a minute sense of reality. You have no comprehension of what's really real in my life and his life. So many of you, okay, you can block me, honey. So you're back again doing that. All of this stuff, you expose yourself before God. It's nothing to do with me. All of it is evil, and I don't care what you think it is. I don't care what you think it is. It's evil what you're doing. And I know people like you say, you shouldn't be bothered, but that's what you guys exist to do. Evil people exist to trigger people like me who are kind, who are good, who are doing the right thing, and who are just living their lives and trying to do the right thing. And that's the problem. Yeah, so and that's the thing. And there's no point in having conversations with people like you because you don't have any sense of God. and you've come on here just to cause chaos. All of this is chaos and drama that people don't want to hear about. They don't want to be involved in. This is stuff you can find on other channels. All of this stuff, all of this messiness, all of this crazy psychosis, all of it, all of these fakeness, all of these lies. There's so many other channels you can find that on. It's just not on here, and that's what you're going to understand, because this is a channel where I represent his truth, and that's all it is. Well, that's the thing. You're going to have to just wake up to reality one day. Life can't be just how you dream it to be, Joanne. And one day you're going to realize that. And you just can't go online like going around and harassing people you don't even know. Like, do you understand? You're not right, and there's something not right in you. So I think you just need to get help. So anyway, and sorry for those who probably heard all of that. It's just a demonstration of what I've been dealing with. She's just one of a million of you that do this. And some of you are still listening to this, and you're probably cheering it on, getting excited about all of that chaos and drama that somebody else has caused to somebody else. That's evil. That's evil inside you. Anybody who gets excited about seeing somebody else be hurt is narcissistic. Is narcissistic and evil. And I don't care what you claim to be, because even the devil can call God's name. I don't care who you claim to be. What you present as is evil. And if you enjoyed all of that because that's where your spirit is, then there's something in you that needs to be corrected. And there's so many of you that are so far from God, you wouldn't know what I'm talking about. You have no connection to this. It's so far from you. And this live that I've just done here, it's gone way too long because of this narcissistic person who thinks that she knows something. And it's just narcissism. It's sociopathy. It's narcissism. It's pathology. It's something I can't cure. Only God can help this person. And I didn't pretend to help her, but I wanted to demonstrate to you guys how deep this is, and how many of you are like this and you cannot see it. You think it's normal. You think it's just because everybody else in your community or everybody else around you is like this person. So you become like that. But then I'm here to say to you, no, you don't have to be like that. You can make a choice to be kind, to be loving, to be giving, to be generous, to be empathic, to be patient, and all of these fruits of the Spirit you can choose to be at any time in your life. And if you're like this person, you need to repent, because there's no way out. If you follow darkness like this and you claim to be with God, there's no way out but darkness. There's no way out. And you can make all the claims in the world, but you're not going to fool someone like me who's been around the coop a number of times, who is actually intensely in love with God. You're not going to fool me with all of that, because if you are a godly person, you present as loving. That's it. That's it. I shouldn't feel anything else from you. I shouldn't be feeling anger from you. I shouldn't be feeling narcissism from you. I shouldn't be feeling like you're trying to attack me, you're trying to hurt me. That's not God. I should be feeling loved. I should be feeling, comforted. I should be feeling respected. They're the fruits of the Spirit, and they're the fruits that God brings to you if you understand God and the Bible. Anything else is false and false doctrine, and it's all out there. People want to present that they're Christians and still do all of these things, and then that's why other people will watch that and think, well, I can talk about God and still hurt people. I can talk about God and then go online and just put out verbiage to somebody who's going through a really difficult time and try and trigger her into some reaction because there's something inside me that's dark. And a lot of people watch that and think, well, that's what a Christian is. It's not. I'm telling you here, it's not a Christian. That's not what a Christian does. King and I represent God and Christ. And nowhere you will ever see King ever doing such to anybody. And never will you find me doing that to anybody, because we represent the real Christian faith that Christ believed in and preached. The real belief of Christ, the real essence of Christ. That's what we represent. Love is what we represent. Anything else is not of God. Any other spirit is not of God. If you don't come to me and I don't feel your loving spirit, I'm going to call you out as demonic. I'm going to call you out as evil. I'm going to call you out as narcissistic. And I'm not going to back down on that. I don't care who you think you are. I don't care how many messages you send me. I'm going to just pray that God removes you and puts you somewhere where you can get the help you need spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And I've had it to the rooftops with some of you with that, all of that, because you don't have God. You don't have God. I keep saying it. And most of you are not listening. You must not know about Moses. King Ray. Well, welcome to the chat, King Ray. Why I'm just going to ask you why, because I don't understand that question. I'm just going to get a drink, but I want you to answer that. Like he's a Care Bear. I like Care Bear. God is a God of love, war, revenge. That's true. I completely agree with you. But when I say I represent love, but that is the essence of God. But you cannot humanize God and say that God has these characteristics of a human being either, King Ray. You cannot say that God is a God of revenge, because you have to see it in the right context. You have to see war in the right context. It's the contrast that we needed as human beings to come back to God. So God allows these things, but God isn't the God that causes these things. It's us human beings and our nature, our evil in us, the evil in us, that strays away from God, and the choices that we've made that lead to war, revenge, and all of these things. All of that stuff, the dark energy, doesn't come from God. But God allows it as the contrast that we need to come back to him. Without these things, you think about it, like Adam and Eve and what they went through, and you think about the beginning story, and whether you see it as a myth or whether you see it as a reality, it was a reality, because you can see it play out every day of our lives. And even in the situation with RKelly, you can see how the choices that people make have led to this. And the choices that we all make lead to either good or bad. And the contrast that we experience is either war, revenge, or hate. And that's just how it is. This is the human experience that we're living, so that we can come back to God. So I don't associate those things as being part of God's nature. I don't associate those things, but I respect that people who are not there yet, who haven't grasped that aspect of God's character, will probably say so. I'm not putting you down, King Ray. You sound like somebody very knowledgeable who's really on the path to discovery, but I'm just saying, read it in the right context, because don't humanize God's character. Even though we call God him, you have to know that God doesn't have a gender. God is beyond us. Do you understand that? So we associate sometimes, because by calling God Father, and he has the characteristics of a father, but also of a loving mother, and that's the thing about it. But we call God him. And because, of course, it's the masculine energy, but at the same time, he's not human. So he doesn't think like us. He doesn't get jealous like us. He doesn't go into a rage like us. All of these things God doesn't present as. They're human characteristics. So that's the difference between my philosophy and a lot of others who don't have the right context of that. And the problem is, when Christians read, God is a jealous God, God is a God of rage and war. Sometimes it's the same as with other faiths and other religions. They'll use that as an excuse for anger and hate and all of these things, because they'll say, well, God presents with those characteristics. No, humans present as that. When the old prophets used to talk about God, and they wrote the Bible through being led by the Holy Spirit, they were trying to relay an aspect of, and I don't, this is too deep. We're going into deep into the Bible here. Jehovah or Jesus? Jesus, of course. Jehovah or Jesus. Anyway, that's a topic for another time. But I think that because I was saying that's, I think, something we have to sit down and we have to look at the different issues within the Christian. And I'm not somebody, and the thing about it is I have to put a disclaimer, because I'm not a theologian or anybody who's gone to Bible school or anything like that. I'm just somebody who is intensely passionate and in love with God, and I've been so since I was a young girl. So I think that I know a lot more than probably most people do, and I don't boast about it or come online with it, but but I also have a lot of compassion for where people are at and that they're not where I'm at. So I don't tend to challenge people about their beliefs because I know that a lot of people are not where I'm at. And he does have human traits to him when he was on earth. Oh, I see what you're saying, but no, but Jesus was okay. Jesus came in as a human form of God. So to experience, in order for us as human beings to actually evolve and to be reconnected to God, Jesus had to go through that as a human being and show us that as a human being that he can suffer. God can suffer like us, and still show love and still show patience. And yes, he got angry at the Pharisees and he had those moments. He got angry, just like I just got angry with that woman who came online and she was trying to say that she was, she had God with her. That's the kind of anger that is righteous, because you're actually saying, wait a second, you're not representing God here. You're misleading people here into the wrong direction of what God represents. And I think that's a righteous anger. That's a righteous level of anger. But still, God does say, don't let your anger lead you into sin. So the next step for me, if I hadn't backed down, it could have led me into sin, into some argument where I'm cursing her out and calling her names. And that would have been something that becomes ungodly of me. So what I'm saying to you is just to answer you really quickly, but this is probably not the time for it, King Ray, is that God does not have human traits, and don't ever associate God with us human beings, because just because you hear and read that the Bible says he's jealous God and and I will punish you and I will destroy you, they are things that we have to, this is a deeper conversation for another time, but I think it's also something that some of you have to research and look into more deeply, because it's a deeper understanding when you know that God's nature is perfection, and the most perfect I guess expression of that is love. Then everything else you have to understand it in the right context. So yes, God always presents as love. Like, even you think about parents who get angry with their children. You think they get angry with their children because they don't love them. Sometimes they see their children doing the wrong thing. But even God is beyond that, because if God got angry with us and the way that we run around this earth and destroy each other and destroy this earth, he'd be zapping all of us down every 5 minutes. Look at us all killing each other and hurting each other, and people abusing each other, people just doing things to trigger each other. Like, if God was a God of revenge and hate and war and all these things, if that was God's nature, none of us would be alive, because we're always like doing something that's just wrong and off and just completely off center. So we have to see that like in the right context. What does God mean by war? What does God mean by jealousy? To look into it in a philosophical way, as opposed to the earthly way, the human way, which is to associate God like a parent, and to look at God like the fathers we had. God is so much beyond that. We cannot associate God with any human beings at all, and any of our human natures, because we are so beyond nothing close to God. We're nothing close to God's nature, except when we love. Only when we love can we overcome anything. Only when we love can our faith overcome anything. Only when we love are we a complete expression of God. And that's just how it is. So anyway, the plagues of Egypt. This is a conversation for another time. Sorry, King Ray, because I came on here just to actually talk about God in the context of like King's situation. If you're following the RKelly situation, this is his channel, this is his platform. I'm his partner, Lady Juliet, and I'm just here to tell you the good news is coming. But in the meantime, Psalm 108 verse 12 to 13 says, human help is worthless. And you see that woman Joanne who came on, she's an example of exactly why human help is worthless. Because human help, whether it be the attorneys or anybody else, is going to give you the wrong information about King, and that's just how it is, because they just don't know. They have weak, fallible natures, and they don't know enough about anything. But the thing about it is, if you're humble enough, I'm going to just put out just some positivity about one attorney, and that's Canik. We had Canik in the New York trial for a number of months, just probably a couple of months. And I know I'm always talking badly about his attorneys, but, I think I made a video about that actually. And Kanik was the exception to me. But I want to sit down with King and talk about Kanik more in detail and the process we went through with him. And he is an example of a man who feared God, respected God, a Christian man. And the difference between dealing with him and dealing with the Jennifer Bonjeans and the Stephen Greenbergs is night and day different. During the trial in New York, Kanik came into it last minute. We dumped Stephen Greenberg, and King did that on my word. I said, get rid of him. If he's doing all of this, get rid of him. King is an alpha male. I don't need to tell him what to do. He's his own person. He's going to do what he needs to do. But at the end of the day, I'm his partner. He respects everything I say. And when I say something, he listens, because sometimes you're not sure 100% if you're seeing things correctly, and you need that mirror. You need somebody to say, hey, I see it too, it needs to stop, or this needs to change. And that's what partnership is. That is what a godly partnership should be like, where you can help each other and you can help each other make the right decisions. So yes, I'm talking about RKelly. Yes, exactly, King Ray. This is his platform. So, and anyway, Kanik was the exception to all of this. And I'm going to talk very briefly about him and just the difference between dealing with somebody who has God in their life and is actually a practicing Christian and who actually fears God, who has compassion, humility, love, and all of the characteristics of the Spirit, of the Holy Spirit. So they're the fruits of the Holy Spirit. So when you see somebody present with evil, any kind of meanness, any kind of hurt, any kind of wanting to hurt somebody, wanting to make somebody look bad or whatever, they're not fruits of the Spirit. They can't say that and then claim to be with God. The fruits of the Spirit for me, when I saw Kanik, what Kanik demonstrated was a lot of compassion for King, but also seeing King for who he was. So during the New York trial, Kanik did something to me, for the first time, we had him on board. He had 2 months to get ready for the trial, and I think he did a phenomenal job considering the time frame he had. I think he just did a phenomenal job, and you couldn't have asked for anything more from him. But the problem was he'd been loaded off with all the wrong information from Stephen Greenberg and in the wrong direction. So Kanik came into it. And I've got a video actually in my top videos. You'll see where it says the verdict should have been not guilty. You can find out, his response to the New York trial, and he was interviewed. And that's where you can learn who Kanik is, and anyway, so he had 2 months to prepare for the trial, and I think he did a phenomenal job. He got into the trial, but he hadn't met me, and I hadn't introduced myself, and King and I hadn't, because it was 2 months in, and I actually just thought I was waiting for the right time, and I was communicating with King about how we could do it, because he'd been given all of this information from Stephen Greenberg about how to, the defense, the defense part of the evidence. So he was just taking on board everything that Stephen Greenberg was saying. But there was a lot of false information, including that Joyce Savage and RKelly were his long-term living girlfriends. That was all fake and false and phony. And so we had to get rid of all of that somehow, because we wanted a clean slate, King and I. So what I did was it was just really hard, because I wanted the right timing, but he was overloaded with so much, and I didn't know him, and I was just like, how do I approach this? King was like, how do I approach this? We're kind of like in this, how do we even start with all of us explaining who I am and how all of this mess started? So I managed to get in touch with him during the trial. And I've got all of those messages. I've got that, those emails. But I've shared some of them a long time ago, but some people just don't listen. Just listen in who RD. You just have to listen, and you'll find out who I'm talking. I'm always talking about God in everything. But this channel is the RKelly podcast. This is his channel. I'm his partner, Lady Juliet. And so whenever I'm talking about RKelly, but there's always God involved in this. So I am talking about God in this context. So Kanik, being the godly man he is, I got in touch with him during the New York trial. And it was to warn him. It was to say, look, we need to go a different direction, because the thing about it is the defense in the past lied. They said that, Joyce and Savage and Azrael were his girlfriends, long-term partners, and it set him up for disaster. I want you to understand why that set King up for disaster. When you're in the US, polyamorous or polygamous relationships are like, if you're in one of those, it's actually technically illegal, by the way. So all of you that promote that, I want you to know that. So it's technically illegal, like to be, you can't be married to two people, for example. So it's actually shunned by the public, because it is, and the legal system, because it's illegal. You can't be in a relationship with two people. Like you can date, but you see how like that set King up for failure, because Stephen Greenberg should have known all this. He's a lawyer, he's an attorney. So first of all, if you want to use that as a defense, at least use a defense that doesn't put him in a position that makes him look like a lawbreaker anyway. So being in a relationship with two women is illegal. To be married, I should say, not like you can be in a relationship privately. But if you were to try to you can't be married to two people, in other words, and you can't be married to one and then you can't do any of that in the US. So there'd be no future if that was a reality. If he was really in a relationship with both Azrael and Joyce and Savage, there'd be no future for King anyway. And any judge, any court system is going to know that. So to present him as being somebody who is in a relationship with two people at one time, two women at the same time, a long-term live-in relationship, already set him up for disaster, because it's illegal. And it's shunned by the public because it's not normal. It's not normally done in the Western culture. And it's done under obviously privately, guys date different women. And King has never been in a serious relationship with two people, by the way. He's always dated around, like he's always dated different women at the same time. That's a different thing from being in a serious relationship with two different people. That's two different things, because a lot of men date around, a lot of women date around, and don't settle down until they find the right person. So King has done that. So he's been in open relationships. He was in an open marriage, for God's sake, that was presented as him cheating, but it was already evolved into an open relationship before they got married. So, and that's a topic for another time. But just to get you an understanding of the background of this. So I got in contact with Canik during the New York trial, just to say, look, this is a situation. Stephen Greenberg lied. He put a bunch of lies out into the media. He put them in his motions. King was never aware of it until it was too late, because he can't read fully his motions, and he wasn't given his motions. Everybody knows about that. He had to go to court to actually call out his attorneys, Leonard and Greenberg, and to actually Judge Ann Donnelly, and tell her that they were not giving him his motions to read. So he was not getting all of that. And I wasn't on PACER at that time, so I wasn't getting, initially, I didn't even know where to start with all of that. But I did get onto PACER during the New York trial to just get on top of everything. So Canik comes in, and I'm relaying all of this to him during the trial. This is during the trial. So it was really intense, because it was at the beginning, because what I heard him say in the beginning, because Canik wasn't working alone. He had Nicole Blank-Becker, and I think Farinella might have been still in the picture, and they came from the old team. So they were on board with Stephen Greenberg's whole defensive, but they actually believed it too. They weren't, by the way, the other defense attorneys were under Stephen Greenberg. Stephen Greenberg was King's initial lead attorney, and underneath him he had all these other attorneys, and so he fed them all of this misinformation about King being in a relationship with Joyce and Azrael Clary, and that just roller coasted into more and more mess. And anyway, so I relay this to Canik during the trial, that this is false information. Please don't present it as that. What we want to do is go forward with a defense that, that he was never, the truth, because I am his partner, I am his girlfriend, and we want to come out, publicly and declare that. But we have to first, we have to iron this out. And this is the time to do that, because it cannot be presented in court that Azrael and him slept together, because that never happened. They were never in a relationship. They were never boyfriend and girlfriend. They were never together. They were never intimate. She was his intern. She was his employee. And the same with Joyce and Savage. It's going to cause him problems in the future. And even in this trial, if you present it like that. And and I said to him, look, but you need to, like, talk to Robert, or King. I always call him King, but I had to relay it as Robert. You have to talk to Robert about that, Mr. Kelly. You have to talk to Mr. Kelly about that, and go over all of this with him. I'm communicating because I can write this email to you, and I know he can't. He's in the middle of the trial. He comes in last minute, and he doesn't really have a lot of time to relay a lot of this stuff to you. So anyway, Canik took a turn in the defense during the New York trial, and he went on board with King and I. And this is what the difference between godly leadership in your life and somebody who doesn't have God, or people that don't have God and don't acknowledge God and don't have accountability. I'm not saying that people don't believe in God, and I'm not saying that Stephen Greenberg and Jennifer Bonjean don't believe in God, but I can't see a demonstration of God fearing or God love, or a true. There's no honesty there. There's no integrity, and they're corrupted, in my view. And whereas Canik, for me, demonstrated in that moment, because he turned the trial, and they decided not to put Joyce and Savage on as a witness, because everybody was speculating, is she going to be called in? And I think she had she was on hold to be called in. And like, if she was his girlfriend, you'd think that they would have called her on to witness, but that never happened. And that didn't happen because of me. And I have all those emails, by the way. This is why I keep saying to people, like, what I hate is people jumping on this channel and knowing nothing about what has happened. And then they think that they know because they're full of narcissism. And then they spew out things to me, his partner, who knows him better than anyone in the world, who's been part of this from the get-go. And it's just, you can imagine how idiotic it is to me to have these people try and present as people that know something I don't know, or that know more about him than me. It's idiotic. It's senseless. It's insane. It's psychotic. I don't know where it comes from, the spirit it comes from. But anyway, so Canik turned it around. He decided to go different. They didn't call Joyce and Savage to stand trial as a witness at all. Meanwhile, every single witness that the prosecution called had this twisted story, a fake story of King abusing them, with Joyce and Savage involved. So I want you also to get this picture, because during that trial, I also was able to that was the first time I was able to get in touch with his judge. That was Judge Anne Donnelly. And to let her know what was going on. No, partner as in girlfriend, King Ray. Life partner, spiritual partner, girlfriend, full-time. So I was able to get in touch with Judge Anne Donnelly to let her know what was going on. So it was pretty much at the same time as Canik. And it was pretty powerful, because I think that they both had kind of an aha moment in that time, but it was a bit too late, because the trial had already started. The jury had been picked. A lot of things had already gone down by that time. Because you have to imagine, though, at every point I kept thinking, okay, somebody's going to ask King about, like, the history of his relationship with Joycelyn and Azrael Clary. Because King, even on the Gail King interview, he said it honestly. He said, they're almost like my girlfriends, and now he put it that way. I'm going to go back and talk about that one day with him, but he put it that way because he had his back up against the wall. He'd been threatened by the parents as to be smeared as trafficking them and holding them as sex hostages and sex slaves, and they'd already put that out in TMZ. And so he had his back up against the wall when he did that Gail King interview. Meanwhile, too, our relationship, by the way, hadn't started at that point, but we were friends. So he didn't have any kind of loyalty to me at that point. And he was just trying to say to them, look, nothing ever happened to them. So, but when you hear the words almost like my girlfriends, it actually says in English terms, if you translate that, it means they weren't his girlfriends at all. So almost like something means that you're not. Meanwhile, though, when Gail King switched over to them, they lied again because they'd been lying behind his back, saying to people that they were sleeping with him and in relationship with him, and he didn't know anything about that. They did it again on the Gail King interview, and he was in the back caught coughing, and Gail King later on said, oh, he was trying to control them by coughing every time they spoke. Because she believed he was guilty, she didn't understand that he was coughing because they were lying on camera saying that they were both sleeping with him, and he was trying to put out the truth. So this is the thing. But he also mentioned hanging out with me during that time, and you'll catch that. I put that on my video list for you guys to kind of see that moment where he talks about hanging out with a 43-year-old, like, that was me. And I think that he couldn't get into all of that with Gail King because she was interrogating him. She wasn't after the truth. She just wanted to catch him out. Yeah, I'm like King Ray. Have a listen to the videos I've put up. We actually did. We've. They weren't living with him. Those two women were never living with him. I've already, like, this is the thing. This is the thing. Okay, if you're like in a long-term like partnership with somebody, you're living together. If your attorney is going to say you're a live-in girlfriend long term, then you're living together. And this is the assumption the prosecution made by his attorneys making those false claims. They assumed that he was living, that they were living with him and he was controlling them. They were staying at the studio first. Their apartments at the top. The studio was set up in a certain way. There's a studio space, but then there is accommodation, there's bathrooms, there's showering space, because sometimes he used to sleep there, when late nights, when he used to record before he even met them, but then he gave up that space for them because they didn't want to go home. They made claims to him that they were being abused by their parents. So he felt sorry for them. They had already come on board as interns, making bookings for him and all of that. So they stayed at the studio in this accommodation, and it's a nice studio. If you see the photos from where they come from, it's not bad. It's not like, it wasn't Trump Tower, but it's not, obviously somewhere dodgy like they projected on Surviving RKelly and their parents had put out into the media. So they were staying at the studio space. They never lived with him. And then when all of this went down, they moved into Trump Tower in an apartment that they were paying for, by the way, because he was paying them wages for their internship, or an award. I wouldn't call it wages because they weren't on the books, but they were getting paid, and that's all recorded. You can find out all of that information, and even that was in the media because when the money ran out, that's when they got pretty upset because they were living off, getting a lot of getting good money for making bookings, getting coffees, walking the dog, doing all these little jobs that interns do. So they had their own apartment at Trump. They never lived with him at all. King has a small condo at Trump Tower, and it's really just big enough for two people. So, and there was no time that they lived with him at his condo. The only time that you'll ever find them in his condo was when he was in prison in July. It was actually, July 2019. And he was already incarcerated, and he was refused bond at that stage. And that was the only time that they were in his condo, living there, because they were homeless. And I'm going to explain that story. I've explained it in videos, but very briefly, for those who've just jumped into the conversation, we had agreed, King and I, to make them leave the apartment and be away from him, go home, pretty much, when we became official. And this is after the Gail King interview, by the way. So just after the Gail King interview is when our relationship officially started. And I'm not going to give you the exact dates, but I've kind of dropped it into my community board. Some of you will know. I think the month was about April. It was April, to be exact, April 2019. And we decided, together, they had to go. King was being protective of them because they were getting a lot of media, bad media press, but they also had nowhere. They kept claiming they had nowhere to go. They didn't want to go home to their parents, back home to their parents. And meanwhile, mind you, they're legal age. They're not children. You'll have to excuse me. I've got a bit of cough now. But yeah, I know this live's gotten a lot longer than it was meant to, but they're of legal age, and it's kind of good for me to explain this, considering the person who came on board before with her false claims of, if you're his girlfriend, why aren't you visiting? All of that I've covered in my lives of why I'm not able to visit him in North Carolina at this moment. And people who have not listened to my lives won't know anything about me, won't know anything. They hear things they don't want to know. They're sheep. They just want to hear what they hear from other people. They like gossip, slander, they like messiness, they like all of that chaos that people are causing on other channels. And then they come over here to antagonize me, a good person, kind, loving, his partner who's gone through hell. And it's quite evil, actually. So, but I'm relaying this very briefly for those who are coming into this conversation who know nothing. Oh, thank you, King Ray. Yeah. So yeah, our anniversary passed. I kind of posted a lot about that. It did pass in April. I expected him home then, but it just didn't happen just then. But that's okay. We will have a late celebration. But anyway, so yeah, Joyce and Savage and RKelly, they had their own apartment. We asked them to leave in May. King did the dirty deed, unfortunately, of telling them. He ended up in a huge argument with them because they didn't want to leave. And this is the story. They didn't want to leave. They pressed him to stay because they were angry. They were both in love with him, of course. He just was like, the thing about it in his head, there are two things going on in his head. He's like, firstly, he felt cruel for having to throw them out with nowhere to go, even though they'd been paid quite a lot of money, enough to afford their own place, and they should have been able to afford their own place. But the other thing he was also concerned about is, with grumbly, empty tummies, what happens is people end up telling lies, which is what happened with all these women surviving R. Kelly. When you don't have money, you can be convinced to tell a lie against anybody. And their parents were already hassling them to come on board with surviving R. Kelly, come on board and fake some stories and make up some lies so that they could all cash in together. So they were doing that. And so King was afraid, and like naturally so, that the second that they were out, they were going to turn against him because they would have nothing, like they would be bitter and they'd be angry, and which is actually what happened with RKelly. So all of this speculation about what happened with her and she was turned and all of this stuff, it's just BS. It's people who just don't want to hear the truth. They don't want to accept reality and truth. And I'm telling you the truth. This is what happened. So they left. They went home. It was recorded. It was in the media. They were at home. They were still there by June because it was summer. And I want to put everything in perspective because it was June. The parents had posted that they'd been home. They'd seen the girls, and they posted about their lack of hygiene, and that's how we knew, because what they were trying to do is smear King as being uncaring, and like because they were putting out, oh, their boyfriend doesn't care about them. Look how King left. Look how R. Kelly left these women. They stink of poo. That's what they were saying on their social media. Meanwhile, King has nothing to do with their hygiene, doesn't live with them, and they're not his girlfriends. They just didn't obviously either weren't taking care of themselves, or their parents were just lying just to slander King. But either way, it was a good opportunity for me to. It was good because because the thing about sociopaths and narcissists, they never keep their mouths quiet. They always reveal themselves, and these parents revealed that they were home. So it was recorded. TMZ even made a statement about it because they were communicating, these parents, with TMZ. Yes, he is getting out. He's getting out any day, by the way, King Ray. So this is why, like this live is very important. Okay, so there was that going on. They were communicating with TMZ, and they were telling them a bunch of lies to smear King as this sex slave holder and controlling the women, and they just kept feeding TMZ lies, and Tasha K and a whole lot of and other bloggers as well. Anywhere they could, anyone who would listen to them, and their poor parents. We've lost our daughter's story. They were going to go to, and especially with Me Too coming on board and saying, "Oh, believe all victims." Oh my God, those parents went ham. They just went crazy, ballistic with the media and their smear campaign, their narcissistic smear campaign of King. So they were telling, but the great thing is everything that they did is recorded. So it was recorded that they were home. So I'm not just making this up. They were home that June. You can all look up all of this information. So if I'm lying, you can look it up. It's all there. But yeah, so they were home. So all of this stuff that the attorneys kept saying that they were there when he was arrested, they weren't there. They were home. They were home when he was arrested, and they were brought back by his attorneys. And I'll tell you how that happened, because they ended up homeless. They ended up with nowhere to go, because they ended up apparently, and I haven't confirmed that, apparently in a women's shelter, because they didn't want to stay home. I can't confirm that 100%, but all I know is they ended up without anywhere to go, because they didn't even know how to find their own apartment, apparently. But I don't know whether that was just an excuse, because they just wanted to go back to living under King's care, even though he was incarcerated. He was in jail at that time. So like he had his hands full, but these women still wanted him to look after them. So this is the psychosis. This is why I get so angry at people that even mention their names. People don't know the hell we've been through with those two idiots. I can only call them idiots at this stage, but I think I have far heavier words, if I could be more honest, about RKelly and Joyce Savage, if I was to be honest. And it's got nothing to do with jealousy. It's to do with what they've caused for us and for him. I just think that no matter how you're raised, you've got choices you can make. You can care about somebody's legacy, their life, and their safety. At any time, these women could have just told the truth. They could be telling you guys what I'm telling you now, especially Joyce Savage. At any time, she could have said, hey, I have to put my hand up and say, Azrael and I were never with him. We never slept with him. We wanted to, but he wasn't interested. They could have told all of this that I've been telling. But if they cared about him at all, at any time, but they didn't. Even still to this day, you'll never find Joyce Savage ever telling this truth. Why? Because she doesn't want the heat on herself. Why? Because she's a selfishly geared woman, because that's how she was raised. Why? Because she's protecting herself. She doesn't care about his life. She doesn't care that he's in prison because she told a little fib to her father that they were sleeping together. She doesn't care. And so you can see how frustrated and angry, why I get angry with people that come into my live and my chats and they just drop her name willy-nilly, like it's nothing. Like it's nothing. Like we haven't been through hell because of that name, because of this woman's insane need to be seen as his girlfriend. And that's all she cares about. She doesn't care about whether it's real. She doesn't care about whether it's ever going to happen. She just her and Azrael just loved the idea that people thought it happened because they'd said it so many times to their friends and family members, and they hoped for it for so long. And even though it wasn't happening, they don't care about all of that. If you're a good woman or a good person, if you're honest, if you care, if Joyce Savage cared even one bit about him, she could have just told the truth. And that would have cleared him a long time ago. I've had to fight hard to tell the truth against her nature, against her selfish nature, to stay quiet and hidden and out of sight. And people think, oh, she's just protecting him by being quiet. Oh, she's just being a good girlfriend by being quiet. No, she's being a selfish woman. That's how she was raised, by being quiet, because she won't tell the truth and she won't ever stand for the truth because she's a coward. And I cannot respect a woman or any person in this lifetime who cannot stand up for the truth, especially when somebody's life is at risk, even if you don't care. But this is a man that they're supposed to have loved. Like if they even loved him as a man, as a person, they could have told the truth at any point. So this is why I get frustrated with some of you all that come on here and you think you know what you're doing, you think you know everything. You don't know anything. You don't know what we've been through. You don't know what they've caused. You don't know even the extent. I don't even express it on here because some of you can't even handle all of this. This is stuff I talk to God about. This is stuff that King and I have to talk to God about because only God can take. So I can't read all your messages. It's easy to hide behind the Me Too movement. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, so anyway, long story short. So, okay, they're home. King is incarcerated. They come back. They're returned by his Stephen Greenberg and co. Nicole Blank Becker. They're the ones that brought these women back. I don't know where they found them, but they put them in King's condo. Then they make this video saying we were always here, we never left. Meanwhile, you can see on the back it says welcome home. Where were they if they were welcomed home? You have to see these things. Go back and have a look at that video. It's on Team Z's website. They made a video full of lies again, because they can't tell the truth. These women were not raised to tell the truth ever. They were raised by sociopaths and narcissists. So that's how they react in life, by lying, and thinking that that's how you get ahead in life. If you just tell a lie, then you can just tell another lie, and then add another lie to that, and that's how these women have survived throughout this dilemma. So excuse me if I get a bit angry when people mention their names. Anyway, so they came back. They're in King's condo. King is incarcerated at that stage. They were not there when he was arrested. They were not there. And I was in Australia, by the way. I would never have let that happen if I was in the States. They would never have been in that condo had I been there. They would never have been in our condo had I been there. This is the problem, is I was not available to actually stop all of this like putting them in his space. Because what happened after that is Azrael then had access to his cars, she had access to his storage, she had access to him. Imagine a man that you've been infatuated for a number of years, who's not returned any of your interest, like a stalker. You put a stalker in a man's home, and then he sorry, I'll have to like. I'm going to just have to let that ring out. Sorry, because this phone just won't let me hang it up. It's just somebody trying to call through. I'll try again. All right. Okay, they're gone. All right. So, yeah. So to cut a long story short, King was incarcerated. I was in Australia. I've been studying a doctorate and master's in integrative medicine. So I've been in between worlds, actually. So I've been, obviously now in Chicago. That's where my new placement is. But before that, I was during COVID, and during that time, I was stuck in Australia, and I had my own apartment. I was doing my own thing. That was the thing. That was the deal. That's how we met. All of that stuff. It wasn't just something new. So I was in Australia, and I couldn't do anything about it. So when I heard the news that they were in his condo, I was furious. I got in touch with King immediately, and I said, "We've got to get them out of there. They cannot stay there. They cannot stay there, because it's going to make you look guilty. You're going to look controlling. They have access to your things. All of these things that I foretold with him. I said, they cannot stay there." And Azrael Clary had access to his storage, his keys. You saw her driving his car for the first time. All of these things were happening for the first time for her. And meanwhile, his attorneys are putting out to the media that they're his girlfriends, and they're happy and all in love. Fake. And it sets him up for disaster, because they put into Azrael Clary's mind that the potential of something possibly happening, because by force, by putting King in a position where he had no choice but to fake this relationship, because it was either that or lose his freedom. Because now they put it on his motions, because at that point too, that's when also Stephen Greenberg was fighting for him to get bond release, and he kept putting Joyce and Savage down as the woman he was going to live with. I was fighting. You guys don't know. I was fighting. King and I were fighting to get that name removed off his motions. Eventually, he did it. Stephen Greenberg eventually got the message, and she removed her name from his bond motions. But before that, he was putting it down that King was to live with her. So he was going to be forced to live with Joyce and Savage for the first time in his life, by the way. So all of these things were happening, and it was nuts. It was crazy, because then COVID hit and it went crazy. But I had said to King, when they had put them in his condo, we have to get them out. They have to get out of there. They can't stay. And you have to stop giving them any money at all. You have to stop giving them any help. All of it, you have to just stop it. All of it, because everything's going to come back on you. And it's going to make you look guilty, make you look bad. And that's exactly what happened. It's exactly what happened, because Azrael got hold of his storage and hold of things that she didn't have access to. When she got rejected by him, because what happened was she was trying to use the situation to benefit herself, because now she's got him in a, what's my favorite song? Off topic. You can ask me anytime. All of them. I'm sorry, I just have so many. Like, I don't know one song of his that's more important to me than the other. I love them all, and you'll see like our podcast channel here is filled with his music, and there's just too many. Like, every time I think I've found a favorite, I find another one, and I'm like, wow, this is my new favorite song. I don't know if you guys can relate to that, but every time I find a song I like, I think, you know, and then something, I find another song that I haven't heard for a long time, or one song I haven't even heard, because his catalog is so big. And some of his music, unfortunately, and this is something we're going to get on top of when he gets home, he has not had great management, and they've not protected his music enough, in my view. Excuse me. So you have artists like Beyonce, who, and this is off topic, but we'll get back on topic in a second. We have artists like Beyonce and, you know, Jay-Z and all of that. They're very organized. You can see, you can go to their channel to find all their music, and everybody goes there. They know where to go to find all of their catalog and music. King's music, you'll find it on all different platforms. Excuse me, I just had to cough. King's music you find on all different platforms, and that's a problem. It's problematic because you don't know what's released officially. He doesn't get the credit or benefit for that. It's all copyrighted under his name and Sony and all of that. So it's just messy. Like, you find his music everywhere, and it might be great for fans because they're finding all, but it's also not good for fans because you don't know where, like, to look for all of his music, especially if you want to support him and his legacy, and you want to support, like, you want the money and the, obviously, the credit to go back to him. You don't want to support all of these channels that are just putting out his music and earning money from it. That's just not fair on him. So hopefully when he comes home, we can have one channel on YouTube for all his music, and we can start to load it up. It's going to take us some time to catch up, you know, because especially because they've taken it down on YouTube. Here we go again. Sorry. I think I'm going to... All right, so... This phone's just not letting me answer this phone call, so I'm just going to enjoy the music. Anyway. I'm just going to have to wait it out. They tried to ban him, and they definitely don't even recommend it. His music either. Yeah, exactly. They actually shadow banned him. They took him off YouTube, that's for sure. And that was after his conviction. That's my phone ringing, by the way. Okay, it stopped. I'll have to call this person back in a second. Okay, so long story short, you can watch all of this. I've got videos going back 2-3 years on all of this, by the way. I'm just repeating what's in the videos for some of you who've just come through because of this person who came in, because I just want you guys to know the context of why these people are just so confused, and they think that they know what they know. Anyway, so I said to King, we have to get them out. By the end of that year, he managed to get Azrael out of the condo, both of them out of his condo. He managed to do that. I put my foot down. I said, imagine, you've got to see the bravery in him. 2 times he's done that for our relationship, by the way. Because I said, we have to at some stage come out and publicly claim our relationship. We have to publicly state it, because now your judges know. Now your judge, like, because at that time he hadn't been through the Chicago trial, but only Donnelly at that point had known about me. So that's Judge Ann Donnelly, because she'd been informed at the end of the trial about me. So, and that was through me, by the way. So you've got Canik, who was hearing all about me and decided not to put Joyce Savage on as a witness, even though she was name dropped by every single witness of the prosecutors. And that only revealed, if nothing else, how fake their stories were. Because imagine when your judge knows, because during the trial she found out about me, I should say, and then the judge is hearing them name drop Joyce and Savage in their story, saying that she was present, you know, in the sex act, the sexual abuse. And then the judge knows that nothing happened and attorneys lied and were trying to use it for a defense. it just made the stories look very dodgy. But thing is, it was clear, obviously, at that stage to Judge Anne Donnelly, everything wasn't as clear for her at that time. So, but she knew during the trial what was going on. That she had an inkling at that stage, because that's when I gave her the heads up that his attorneys were doing all the wrong things and putting out all the wrong information. And anyway, so King got them out the second time, but this is when Azrael turned on him, because she'd been trying to use the opportunity of him being incarcerated and her being on the indictment as an opportunity to force King to pay attention to her and give the attention as a girlfriend to her. And that's where you hear all of these calls, and all of that stuff came during that time, because he was under duress. And if you don't know what that means, is when you're under pressure, when you're under the threat of life or imprisonment or your freedom, and you have no choice, and your attorneys have quoted and noted on your motions for freedom that these women are your girlfriends, what choice do you have but to go along with it until you can work out what to do? Because he can't do anything else. He's in prison. He has dyslexia. He can't read properly, and your hands are tied in all different sections. He can't come out of prison because his bond's been denied. So it's just, he was in an impossible situation, and that's why he ended up just going along with it, because he just had to. He had no choice. And we were trying to, each time we tried to find a way out of this predicament, you have people interfering, you have people online spreading this gossip and lies that there's a relationship going on and he's in love with Joyce, and so all of this stuff was interfering in my part and King's part in trying to get the truth out. And that's why it gets me so aggravated that these people are even still online and they're claiming to be helping him when what they're doing is sabotaging him. And I want you to understand that, to see the difference. So when you come on this channel, we're not in any kind of open relationship, though. That's the thing, King Ray. We have no open relationship. That was established. It's just the two of us. We are Christians. Monogamy was always that was not even an option. I was never in any kind of open relationship. I don't swing that way. I don't do all of that. So that's not me at all. And so, yes, anyway, just getting back on topic, I think, so he eventually got Azrael Clary out of his condo, and Joyce, both of them out of his condo. That's when all that fighting started. You have Joyce going to pick up some of these things to take it to be stored. All of that stuff, but had nothing to do with him. But that, of course, made the press as well. And it's just, but all of this is great because it's documented. Because these are things that I can go back and say, okay, this is these are time slots I can go back as proof. The things that the media, I don't like the media much because of all of this, but the thing about it is they've also been a great record keeping mechanism for me, because the dates that I've talked about line up with things that were happening in the media. So you can't say that I'm lying, because you can go back and check all of these things in the media, because they were all reported. All of these instances when they were made to leave, when they were looking for an apartment and they couldn't find an apartment because they didn't even know, they said they didn't even know how to find an apartment. So King was in prison trying to help these women find an apartment for themselves. This is why it gets me so frustrated with these people that have no understanding of what we've been through, what King has sacrificed, how much he's put up with, how much he's tolerated. If it had been any other man, he would have blown his fuse a long time ago, because this situation has been so impossible and so unjust for him. These women had nothing to do with him. They were nobodies that came to intern for him. They caused all of this havoc because they were infatuated with him, and they couldn't get him out of their minds, and they couldn't tell the truth to anybody else because clout was more important to them than his life. Instead of chasing freedom for him, out of kindness, out of the goodness of humanity, at any stage they could have helped him and said, look, we were never his sex slaves. We were just interns. He never touched us. Anytime they could have said that, but no, they didn't. So don't get upset with me if I get upset about their mention, and I think that there's just evil and darkness around their name, because they just have presented to me as some some people that are surrounded by demonic entities, and real demonic entities at that. Like, because only evil could cause that. If you're good, if you're kind, you're loving, you absolutely care about somebody's life, especially a man that you claim to even care about. You're going to say, listen, let me tell you the truth. Like, at one stage, you've never even heard Joyce and Savage come out and say, he's never hurt me. Listen, my father and mother are corrupt. They set all of this up. You've never, ever heard her do this. So some of you are evil to even present her name to me, who's actually has a whole 3-4 channels dedicated to telling his truth. I have 3 channels, and you'll never hear Joyce and Savage even come out to say he never hurt her. Never come out to say that he never hurt RKelly. Never once in all of these years. You'll never hear it, because she's a coward and she's selfish, and that's how she was raised. And there's nothing good that can come from a family like that. So that's how she was raised. So please don't come onto my platform, onto the platform I've started for him to tell his truth, to bring him home, to actually say that he's never hurt me as his partner for 5 years. He's done nothing but love me, nothing but protect me, nothing but sacrifices even his own freedom and his own life for me. I'm on here saying all of that, and some of you are attacking me. So what does that say about you and how evil you must be? Because Joyce and Savage is nowhere to be found doing any of that, even as a person. Forget about his fake girlfriend relationship thing. As a person, as a human person, if you know somebody's going through this and you care about them, you're going to find a way to talk about it and shout to the world, please leave him alone. Nothing ever happened with RKelly. I was there. He never touched her, but she wants the clout. She wants you all to do exactly what you've been doing. She wants you all jumping into my lives and saying, what about Joyce and Savage, and spreading these lies. She loves it. All this clout is feeding her ego, her false sense of self, her false storyline that she's gone along with in her head, that there was a relationship when there wasn't. I mean, even in RKelly's letters to her family, she says, clearly, I tried everything, but he wasn't interested. How that passed the court system and he wasn't found not guilty for her, I don't know. Because she put it in her letters that he never touched her. And Canik said in the end of his, his closing argument, he's saying, we're not going to say that he slept with her. Because why did Canik say that? Because Canik knew it never happened, and he didn't want to associate his defense with Stephen Greenberg's, which was to say that they were in a consensual relationship. So all these things that some of you don't have the common sense to even put together, I can't help you, because the channels are there, the videos are there. So anyway, you guys can keep talking in the comments. I can't read it all. But anyway, I'm going to get to what the basic crux, so yeah, Azrael did turn against him after being booted out, cut off, and then finding out that he had a long-term girlfriend. Through me, by the way. I was the one informed RKelly online, and I wish I'd kept that on record. But I had informed her. I said, look, Azrael, you need to stop projecting yourself, putting yourself out there in the media as his girlfriend. You know it's not true. I know it's not true. King knows it's not true. You know how I know? Because we sent you home on this date, and then we kicked you out of this date. And so that put alarm bells, because, if I'd come to Azrael and just said, I'm his girlfriend, she could have passed me by and just said, oh, no, you're nobody, because how many people have claimed that, that you're his girlfriend. But I actually said to her, I know the dates that we sent you home. Who else knew except you and Joycelyn? Me. I knew because it was my idea. And so I gave her those dates. I said, that's how you know I am his partner and I'm his girlfriend. And you'll never be his girlfriend. And you need to be honest with people about who you are. At that point, within 2 days or a few days of that, she started putting out videos of abuse stories that never happened. So she went from, I'm going to try and defend him in some way, to, oh, he abused me with his 12-inch whatever shoe, whatever she said, and fed me poo. So that's where we're at, people. So that's where we're at, So you have some frauds out here that, like to think that, that you guys think, if I didn't exist, I'm telling you, I don't know where my king would be if I didn't exist. So you guys, if you love him at all, you should thank God that I even exist. And I would never say that about myself, but I'm just happy that I do exist to save him from all of this, to help save him. And that's what a godly partner will do for you. I encourage you all to find somebody who loves God, because I tell you what, if you ever get into trouble, it's not going to be that scammy woman who wants your money that's going to help you. They're going to take off the second you get in trouble. It's going to be that godly woman that you put your time and energy in. And thank God King did. He'd already been on the cycle of change before I met him already. So it wasn't like I came in and he dropped everything. He'd already been living solo, not seeing anybody. And that was his life. So he started to change his mind about a lot of things. So, and you had these two women hounding him for a relationship and trying, Azrael and Joyce, anytime. Meanwhile, they hadn't seen him for a year, by the way. Like before they made that video, that Father's Day video where they cut the cake. It's in the documentary Precedents. They hadn't seen him in a year. I mean, like you guys, and even Azrael said that. She said that was the last time we saw him. And you add the dates together, it was a year. It would have been a year then, because the next time that they saw him was when he was in prison and they'd been put down on his visitation list as his girlfriends. Why? Let's get down to why their names were on the visitation list and I wasn't. I was in Australia. COVID was heavy. The borders were closed in Australia. You can look this up. We were not allowed out of the country. We were not allowed, not for any reason at all. No Australians. Why we made the news is because we weren't allowed out of our own country. So, and our government had said, we don't know when we're going to let you out. So that's what I was sitting with. I was sitting with that with my partner in prison, going through all this hell. So the only means I had to communicate with him were lots and lots of correspondence. And I've kept, King will have all of that. And, I've got correspondence on my side too, as proof. So it's just like, lengthy, like 12-page letters. And when people say he can't read, I'm just saying to you, he can't read, but he can. Like he's right to say that to people, to say, as part of his defense, he has dyslexia. At the same time, dyslexia does not mean that you're illiterate. It is a disability that he's born with. It means that words appear differently when you read them. Thank you. Thank you, T. Thomas. Thank you. Words appear differently when you read them. That's what dyslexia means. So he has to, if he wants to read something, he has to take his time to read it, because it doesn't appear the same as it would for me and you. And that's the difference. So when people say he can't read, it can come across really derogatory. And this is what I've had some major words with Jennifer Bonjean about her wording, about his disability on his motions, like calling him illiterate instead of saying he is dyslexic. It's a big difference, because it actually gives you clarity about his level of he's still a genius. Like the thing is, people will associate him not being able to read as well as you and I as being not intelligent. And that's the difference between having dyslexia, because every genius I know has dyslexia. Einstein, Stephen Jobs, the guy who founded Virgin, all of them have dyslexia. Count anybody that Steven Spielberg has dyslexia. Every genius I know has dyslexia. There's something about it that comes with genius. So it's not a characteristic of a lack of intelligence, and it's not illiteracy. It is a disability that makes it hard to read things, and also to do sums of adding up and things. So this is the thing I want you all to understand. When you see people mention it and say, oh, he can't read, and they laugh about it. Well, neither could Einstein, but he's still considered one of the smartest people in the whole universe, in all history. So you have to see it in that perspective. These people don't know what they mean by he cannot read. And I think King has put it out there probably not the right way, because unless he has a physical, complete diagnosis, which I hoped and wished that Jennifer Bonjean would have done, during the trial, because she got experts in there, but the experts were useless. They came out of that with false statements from him about, him having slept with Joyce and Savage, which just goes to show how useless Jennifer Bonjean is. Absolutely useless. Absolutely useless. with all her qualifications, she cannot even get an expert to diagnose him with dyslexia, to actually defend him and say, look, he has dyslexia. This is why a lot of these situations happen with these people, because they took advantage of that. Then he had to call in help, like interns. The reason why he called in the Azraels and Joyce and Savages, he didn't call them in. They stalked him, by the way, to get an internship with him. Stalked him for years, concert to concert, city to city. Eventually got hold of him. Eventually agreed to let them intern, because he needs a lot of help because he has dyslexia. So when you have dyslexia, you need help with reading, you need help with writing, you need help with these things. So this is why he has lots of people on board that didn't deserve it, by the way, because they didn't. I mean, these women I would not classify as very intelligent or having had worldly experience or anything. But he was trying to give them a chance, an opportunity to have a better life. Instead, what they did, they wasted that opportunity and not even not even saving a cent for themselves, not investing any of the money that or the knowledge or any of the experiences that they had with him. Nothing has come of it. They were a waste of time. They were like, but at the same time, if you look at it from God's perspective, God had a plan in all of that to bring King to this point where he's going to come home a different man, and he's going to come home with such clarity to never ever let these people anywhere near him again. Never again. So when all of you people keep talking about things like, trying to get into his life, I'm not saying you people, but people out there that are still trying to get into his life. Let me tell you, after what he's been through, as much as he's calling some people here and there to thank them and just show appreciation, he's not going to, I won't let it either. I stand with my feet both firmly on the ground with all of that. And if I see that you're somebody who isn't spiritual, who doesn't fear God, who's not a Christian, and he doesn't have the fruits of the Spirit in your life, you're not coming near us. You're not coming near him. That's just how it is. So you can do all your little jigging and dancing on YouTube for as long as you like. And you can fool as many people and collect as many followers as you like underneath your little jig. But it's just not going to work. You're not going to come into our home. You're not going to be able to be at our parties. You're not going to be able to be in anywhere near us, anywhere near him. And that's how it is. And he's on board with that. There's nothing, I'm telling you, there's nothing this man, after seeing him sacrifice his freedom and life for me 2 times to send these women off because he didn't want me to feel some kind of way. That's why he did it. You think he did it for, there are 2 reasons. One, because I said to him, it will implicate you with other things. But mostly he did it because of me and how it was making me feel hearing about all of these fake rumors that they were his girlfriends. So when you people think that he doesn't love me, there's no way this man won't do anything for me. And I want you to understand that that's the power you have when you have true love, when you have a true connection, when you have a sacred love, and God brings you together. You don't force things. You don't manipulate people to get to, there was no manipulation with our relationship. There was no me stalking him. No, I didn't even, honestly, I hadn't listened to RKelly music in years, to be honest with you. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that because I always listen to some aspect of his music. If you listen to R&B, you have to, but, I wasn't even clued into what was going on in his world until, I met him. So I wasn't looking for him like these girls and women do. I wasn't stalking his, social media. I wasn't doing any of all of that. I had my own life. I had my own friends. I was very contented. I was very happy. I've never been a star chaser. I've made videos talking all about that. Fame for me is scary. Like the idea of fame, I'd rather not, to be honest. If you gave me the choice, I'd rather him not be famous. That's the honest truth. I'm not somebody who's attracted to fame. I have a very healthy life. I have a very quiet life. I'm happy to do my medicine and study that and be a doctor and do all that. I don't need the fame. I don't need all of that clout chasing rubbish. But these girls, clearly, they feel like they needed all of that to be, something. And that's why they did it. And that's why they're still doing it. So when people accuse me of anything, please understand my character. Please listen to the lives I've done and understand who you're dealing with over here compared to who you're dealing with out there. You're not dealing with a woman here that's a girl. You're dealing with a woman. You're dealing with a grown woman who's been around the world. and who has seen things and who has wisdom and who has God in her life and who has love in her heart. You're dealing with an honest and capable woman too, and genius in my own way. Like, that's the thing, you bring two geniuses together. That's the thing, King was never even a match for any of these women. That's the thing. They were not a match for him, I should say. They were just so below his level. In fact, if I was angry about anything throughout all of this, I was angry. I've never been angry with him, by the way, in any of this. Actually, there's been a few times, I won't lie. But, there are things that, I think any woman would be angry about. And part of it has been like these rumors getting out of control, and that's natural for, a partner, a real partner, a real girlfriend who cares, to get somehow upset about it not being under control and, not being, but at the same time, I felt such deep compassion for him as my partner and his situation and not being able to do much about it, because he has attorneys that are complete ego-centered narcissists. Jennifer Bonjean, I'm sorry, her ego and her sense of self is so far out there. She thinks she's the bee's knees. She thinks she's the world. And I hate that some of you all go under her page and you feed her. You feed her narcissism, because she doesn't have, to me, she doesn't have the emotional intelligence for what we needed. She doesn't have the spiritual intelligence. There's more than just one type of intelligence. You can be book smart, but have no sense of like emotional intelligence. And that's what I'm talking about. You need to have more than one type of intelligence to deal with King's situation here. You need to be spiritually intelligent, you need to be emotionally intelligent, and you have to be intelligent. Book smart as well. And she's just book smart. That's all she is. But you guys give her all this credit because she's an attorney who's done, won other cases. And you think that she's doing good for him. No, she has damaged us as much as Greenberg did. She has hurt us as much as Greenberg has. So, I've not, and the only reason why she's still there is on my good graces, to be honest. And the only reason is because King needs an attorney and she's come this far. And it would be insane for me to try and find somebody else for him right now, for us to find somebody else. Not also, given the fact that I had my own thing going on behind the scenes, and it wasn't even behind her back, because she has known about this, what I've been doing all along almost, because she was informed, and I've said that in my previous live. Jennifer Bonjean knew I was communicating with King's judges. I don't know why she then goes and presents all of those lies in his motions. I don't understand it. I don't understand how somebody could, if they're a good person, if they have any integrity, and his judges are looking at you side-eyed because they know that what you're presenting is a bunch of lies. What audacity do you have as a person? What lack of shame do you have? I'm asking some of you to put yourself in. Would any of you actually do that? Would you be crazy enough to to go in front of the judges that know that they're not his girlfriends, they're not his fiance, but that his girlfriend has been blocked by you and kept out of his defense? His two judges, both Chicago and New York, they fully know everything. And I'm telling you now, that's the only reason why he's coming home. And had it not been for that, and I've been keeping it a secret because I'm telling you, I was dying to tell the world. I was dying. But they've had to keep up a front themselves because to go through this process and let the process play out a little bit. But they have known. It's just a big performance, people. So Jennifer Bonjean is just a loopy person, I have to say, because I could not in my own. If you're crazy, even if you're a crazy person, don't take him in front of a judge that knows that what you're presenting is a bunch of lies, more lies. It's just insanity. It's insanity. And it's insane that she has got this far. But I've just had to let it roll because at this stage, he just needs to he had to just keep going with the process, the appeals and all of that, just because to cover all grounds, I guess. But at the same time, King has known what's been going on. Jennifer Bonjean has all of the information. She even has copies of some of the letters I wrote to the judges. That's how crazy this woman is. She has the letters, some of the letters, the early ones, but she still went ahead. But going into the media and on his motions and on his appeal, claiming that they were his girlfriends and fiancé. So I'm sorry, people. Like, I'm sorry to disappoint you all if I am really down to earth. Yes, that's right, Thomas. That's just me. I'm just your everyday, like, like everyday woman. Yes, I was like brought up in a, probably quite a unique way. I was born in Brussels and, to an African diplomat, and raised in Australia, but I'm down to earth. What you see is what you get. You'll never get lies from me. I cannot lie if I tried. I can't lie if I tried, and I wouldn't. There's nothing in me that motivates me to lie, because a lie, I know what a lie costs people. I know lies cost people's lives. I know they cost people's freedoms and they hurt people. And the thing about when King and I got together, that was the deal we made. I said, I know everything about you anyway, because I am gifted in other ways as well, because I do have a gift to see things and to see into people and to see past stories. And that's just, people can call it a bit psychic, but that's kind of also hereditary. My grandmother had it, my mother had it. The other day, my sister even said something. Do you know what, Tamaz? There was one stage in life, I think anybody who's been through the educational system has considered two things, either being a doctor or an attorney. Years ago, I considered being a psychiatrist. That's where I was going to go. And then I thought I could be an attorney, but the thing about it is I can't deal with crime. I can't deal with dark characters. I'm just like, when you're like also gifted spiritually, you're very highly sensitive to darkness and dark characters, and and also the whole lying factor, the whole lying aspect. There's a lot of lies that attorneys have to tell. You're required sometimes to defend people that you may not believe in, and that's all not part of my nature. I'm so real, like King. I'm just what you see. Like, it has hurt King so much to have to go along with these lies about Joyce and RKelly, because he's so real, and you all know that his music, when he talks, everything is what you see is what you get. He's real to the point where he tells too much sometimes, and that's a problem with me. I've had conversations I've had to have with him about, like, talking to people, calling people, and these phone calls he's made is like, you have a problem with talking too much, and you give away too much information, and people don't understand you. This is what I've said to him. People don't understand you, and they're going to take things that you say the wrong way. So you need to be quiet to some extent. At the same time, I've had to see that this has been so good for his soul, just to be able to communicate with you guys. I have represented him, Thomas. I represented him to his federal judges. And look, if I didn't have, like years and years ago, I used to deal with a lot of elite people. Like, growing up the way I did as a diplomat's child, I think I was always around people that had power and privilege and prestige. So to me, like, a famous person, a celebrity is nothing. To me, a federal judge is nothing. I don't consider anybody unapproachable. So I was never intimidated by anybody. So for me, it was like a case of, okay, put everything I've ever achieved together, any skill I've ever had together, and use that to get him home. And so from my spiritual skill, my gift of seeing, to my skills in life, to my educational experience, all of that came in powerfully handy. So, when I heard a preacher once say that as a woman, don't just expect a man to come to have gold, to have wealth. You need to come with your own wealth. And for me, that is my wealth, is like I come with a lot. And I don't know anyone on my level of experience, or even like, and to be honest, I'm in the top 1% in terms of educational and intelligence. I've been labeled in the top 1% of people. So this is what I'm saying. I think that God chose the right woman for King. There's no doubt in my mind about it, and the right timing as well for us to get together, because had I not come into his life at the moment that I did, and had we not become official at the time we did, King would not be coming home right now. And I think he would have been doomed, because his attorneys are rubbish and absolute junk. And everybody around him has just been nowhere to be seen. They're nowhere. Where are his friends? Where are all the people he grew up with? Where are all his, the people that partied with him? Like, you go and watch all his lives and, live performances. He was surrounded by people all of the time. Where is everybody? Where are they? Are they making channels like this? No. So when I come across people that come in and attack me because they've got a jealous spirit or an envious spirit or something, I have to call it out as evil because there's no one else around. There's no one else. It's an echo out here for me. An echo. I'm the only one out here. I'm the only one out here, and it's lonely. It's been lonely, to be honest with you. And I have to call out all of his, apart from Keith, I have to call them all out. They've all benefited from being around him. They've benefited in getting followers, in friends, in opportunities, in parties, in VIP attendances, in concerts, and all of these things. But they're nowhere running channels to advocate for him or do anything, standing for the man that they were supposed to love. And they knew him longer than I did. I came into his life later in life. Some of these people were with him all through this. And they cannot even start a simple YouTube channel to say, my friend is in trouble. He's been badly labeled here as somebody he's not. No, none of them are standing up for him and saying this. None of them are saying what I've been saying. That's not his character. It has made me so upset, because it's so lonely out here to be the only one defending him. And then coming, getting a barrage of abuse and narcissistic attacks and evil attacks on people. It's really hard. And that's part of it too, because I'm a very private person and I would never have been doing this had he not been in this situation. It took a lot for me to start the channels I did, because I'm a very private person. I like my privacy. I like my quiet life. I don't like to be out here. I'm not one of those clout chasers. I'd rather anything but that. But I'm out here for him because I know it's important. It's important for all of you to know the truth. But you would do it too, Tomaz. You know what? Most of you would do what I'm doing. This is a step. If you had a loved one, most of you, I really believe you would do exactly the same thing. Most of you are good people, but a lot of people are not. A lot of people are selfish. A lot of people would rather protect their little lives than their friendship of 20, 30 years. That's the problem in our world. That's the problem in my world, in the world that I'm seeing. I have friendships that go back to childhood. I have friendships that go back to childhood. And if any one of them got in any trouble like this, there's nothing I wouldn't do. No world I wouldn't turn upside down for them. I'm sure that you guys are the same. I'm sure you can think of people in your life, your friends, your brothers and sisters, your cousins, anybody who was going through this. You would be like, what can I do? You'd be thinking all over the place, trying to just defend them, and help them. And I can't find anybody like me, online or elsewhere, doing what I've done. And I'm not a martyr. I'm not some kind of, hero or heroine. I'm not. I'm just his partner who loves him deeply. But the thing is, am I the only one who loves him? And this is the thing. You have to see how it looks to the world. You have to see how these people have made King look to the world by abandoning him. They make him look guilty because people look and say, well, where are all his friends if he didn't do this? Because the first thing that friends do is they go online or they go anywhere, they go to the media and they say, that's not my friend. I've never seen that happen. And this is false. These are lies. These people are evil. That's what friends do. But when people look at what's happening and they see everybody's taken off, they go, well, maybe they know something that we don't know because they've all abandoned him too. So maybe he is an evil person and a monster. It was difficult for his attorney, Canik, both sides, to find people to defend him. Where were they? And these are Christian people. Apparently they're Christian. Apparently all these people are Christian. So, this is why I'm saying to you, don't come to me saying you're a Christian. Show me with your fruit. Show me by being like Jesus, who said that our cause is to fight for justice. Those who are misaligned. That is what we're supposed to do as Christians. Anybody. And if you're out there fighting for a stranger more than your friend or your brother or your cousin, here, Robert Sylvester Kelly, and you're out there, you're fighting for justice for some other black man somewhere else, online or elsewhere. Shame on you. Shame on you. You will have to answer to God for that, and also answer with your friendship, because that's going to cost your friendship. Because if you think for a second when he comes home, this is the thing. Some of you are listening here. I know the names of the people who, and I'm going to know more, much more when King is home, who has been there for him, like truly been there. I will know. And if you are not on that list, do not come calling us. Don't call our home. Don't come knocking on our door. I don't want to hear your name. I don't want to know you. You are forgiven, but not forgotten. I will never forget. I will never forget you leaving him and abandoning my love. I will never forget it, that you did that to him. Your abandonment is recorded. It's recorded in history. And you better just keep that energy going and keep staying over there where you are, because I'm not interested in any kind of friendship with somebody who won't defend him, won't be there for him, and won't love him. When you've known all this time who he is, and you've kept quiet, and you haven't done what I've done. Any one of them could have written to his judges and all of these things that I've said here. They could have. They could have done all of these things that I've been doing online and elsewhere. Imagine if even 10 friends of his did what I've done. We had 10 channels with friends and cousins and relatives, real cousins. No shade, but I'm just putting it out there. Real relatives, if we had real relatives out here and blood relatives that have been in his life. I'm not saying new cousins or new relatives that just have found that they're, related to him through this. I'm talking about people that were there in his life growing up. Imagine if we just had even 10 of those channels or 5 of those. Just imagine. And imagine if they were writing to people and going to the media and saying and doing all these things. He would have been home a long time ago. No doubt about it. Evil could not have gotten the foot in if we had enough goodness on this side. But I think it happened for a reason like this, to show God who God is, to show the world who God is. At the end of the day, it is like Psalm 108, 12 to 13 says, human help is worthless. With God on our side, we will win. He will defeat our enemies. And at the end of the day, that is what has happened. God won. And God is going to defeat our enemies all the way. All the way. I have no doubt about it. So thank you all for joining me on this live. I've got to get back to this person who's been trying to call me. And this was meant to be like an impromptu live, just to tell you guys, to warn you, like there's going to be people out there that will have other messages and trying to distract you. I can't tell you enough that God has already done it. And just stay in prayer for King and I. If you care about him, stay in prayer for us. Because, through this transition and beyond, that we'll stay with God, that we'll stick with God, that that people are not going to be able to interfere anymore. Because it's the interference that has gotten us, has delayed him coming home. It's the people that have said, oh, let me do this for him. And and they don't even care about the truth. They don't know the truth, and they don't know what they're talking about. And they start YouTube channels, and they start all of these demonstrations or whatever, these documentaries that they're trying to do, and they don't even have the truth. So, and then when you interfere and you're putting it out there, and I appreciate the effort of some of these people, I do. If you're good-hearted and you're not doing it for money or because you want clout, I do appreciate it. I'm not putting it out there that I don't appreciate his support and the fans and the people that are trying. But it's the people that are overstepping because they don't have all their facts right. Don't try and do a documentary about him when you don't know about me. You're going to end up putting out a documentary full of falsehoods and missing a big missing piece. Because then when we do our documentaries and all of the things that we're going to do, you're going to look really stupid as well. I'm trying to also help some of you guys, some of the people out there that are saying that they want to help him. Some of you are going to look really stupid if you don't stop. I'm trying to help you by saying stop and just listen to me. But some of them are not listening because they still want today's clout. They want today's validation. They want today's followers. They don't care about tomorrow. like wild horses. They're just doing whatever they want and not listening. And it's for their benefit. I keep saying, listen to me, listen and follow me. I am the leader here. If that without King, I'm the leader here. I'm the leader of all that's going on with him. And if you're not following me, you're not following anybody. You're following another sheep who doesn't know what they're doing. And where does sheep lead you? Down a ditch. That's what happens. Always the wrong direction. And my leader is God. My leader is God, God and then King. So that's just it. God, I have a hierarchy to report to as well, and I respect that. And if you respect the hierarchy that you have in life, and you respect the people that are put to lead you, and I have nothing but respect for the people that have been put in my life to lead me, because they're from God. So leadership is not always bad, and don't always mistrust it. And in this form, it has been good. Like for me to be out here. So I'm supposed to be the leader of the people out here, but unfortunately, these people are all trying to be leaders and all trying to be chiefs and all trying to be, and none of them are. And they're like, it's unfortunate because they're causing themselves trouble, and they're going to cause themselves more. Some of them have even been in prison because of all of this. What are they doing? Like, I'm telling you, just stop. Just go to God and talk to God about it, and just calm down. Take it down a notch. Don't start looking for validation from people when you don't even know his full story. If you don't know the full story, then just wait until you do. And that's how I just encourage you with anybody out here, any celebrity you're hearing a story about. If you don't know the full story, don't say anything. Don't come into the chat like this woman did and start blurting out all this stuff that you've heard from somewhere. You look like an idiot, for one. But not just that, you're hurting another human being that God has made, and you don't know what they're being through. You don't know what they're going through because of your narcissism. So if you come across people that, celebrities or other people that are going through things, and you hear things, but you don't know what's really going on, sit and listen a while. Sit and listen, get the big picture, get some idea, then ask some questions in a respectful manner. Don't try and trigger people because you want a reaction, because you're full of chaos and drama and darkness, and you just, that's where you operate from, and not from love and kindness and bringing people together. Anyway, I'm going to stop yabbering on. I've got to go and do some other things. But yeah, so you guys on here are going to be the first to know when it hits, when when the plane's in the air. As soon as he calls me, I'm going to let you know, because I can't guarantee he's going to want to come online immediately, because of course he's going to probably want to get himself, give himself a few minutes. Also we've got to kind of establish how we're going to get him, get the truth out, the right way, because our story shouldn't be for free. After everything we've been through, if anybody should cash in, it should be us. But I'm not saying that we're going to be cashing in. I don't think that this kind of story, I think everybody needs to hear this story. So it's not going to be, I think, behind a brick wall for people, I hope. I don't want to sell it off to some agency that's not going to respect it. So in some manner, we've got to control how it comes out. But you guys have been the first to hear everything. So, congratulations to you guys for having the ears and the heart. God brought you here, by the way. I want you guys to see God's plan. Like, if you care about RKelly, if you're a fan, if you like his music or anything, and you're following this channel and supporting, that's God. You're listening to God and you're on the right path. And if you do that with everybody else in life, you're going to just go a long way. And congratulations to you guys for being connected to God, because there's so many people that aren't. And they don't have any idea of what's going on with RKelly, and because they're being misled by this person and that person. But God somehow has put it on your hearts to come over here and hear this story. So, and you're the first people to hear it, because I can't guarantee that even what's going to happen with our videos here when he comes home, because we've just got to work out the best way to talk about our story in a way that people can hear it. So you guys have been the first, so well done to you. Anyway, Thank you for joining in. Thank you for everybody. I know you've been writing comments. I'm sorry I couldn't get through to all of them. Thank you so much for all your support, love, and feedback. And hopefully, the next live I do, prayerfully, I should say, prayerfully the next live I do will be the news that you guys have been waiting to hear. Just so please keep us in your prayers. Keep his judges in your prayers. Please keep them in your prayers. Then nobody and nothing can interfere with what they're going to do, because that is the most important thing. Okay, thanks guys, and I will be back when I'm back.